East Midlands is the most recent area to be considered for new powers in a devolution deal. It would be granted if the government's levelling up bill gets through. The deal would create a mayoral combined county authority in Derby, Derbyshire, Nottingham and Nottinghamshire, and see the election of a mayor come 2024. The government's levelling up bill has been criticised by MPs to say that it lacks detail and doesn't show that levelling up is anything more than a slogan. Our question, does devolution at this level work? We're joined by David Herdson, who's Deputy Chair of the Yorkshire Party, and Dr David Martin-Jones, who's a visiting professor at King's College, London. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. David Herdson, to you first. Devolution at this level, can it work?
It can work, but it could work a lot better if substantially greater powers were devolved to regions, and that's what the Yorkshire Party is pushing for. We have mayors in West Yorkshire and South Yorkshire at the moment. They have relatively limited budgets, they have relatively limited powers. Compare that with what Wales has, what Scotland has. They have vastly more control over their own affairs and much more scope to improve the lives of the people that live there.
Dr Martin-Jones, same question to you, really. Devolution at this level, they used to talk in Brussels a lot about subsidiarity, governance at the lowest possible level. It's good for democracy, they said.
Yeah, well, that was the idea, you know, when the devolution agenda got going with Tony Blair in 1997, and the impact on, you know, somewhere like Wales, which I know very well, has not had the democratic consequences that David just said it would have for Yorkshire. In fact, you know, by all indicators, you know, in terms of employment, in terms of GDP growth, in terms of attracting investment, in terms of the health and welfare of the people, devolution has not worked. It's been pretty much a disaster, I'd say.
David Herdson, what do you say, David Herdson, to those people who argue it introduces an extra layer of bureaucracy that costs the taxpayer dear?
I think you have to invest in democracy. I don't think that devolution has to cost more. Certainly these proposals for Derby and Nottinghamshire do add an extra layer, and I'm somewhat sceptical that taking power upwards from councils rather than downwards from Westminster is the right model. But if you have a regional authority or a national authority in Wales and Scotland, they can advocate, they can be an advocate for their areas and draw in money both internally and externally. If Scotland's seen more foreign direct investment than any other region within the United Kingdom bar London, I don't think that's a coincidence. So they have a powerful government that can act as a strong unified voice for them. But I agree with David that devolution doesn't necessarily work if you don't have the right people and the right policies in place. It's a tool, it's not a magic wand.
Well, just briefly, Dr Martin-Jones, on Scotland, I mean, there's an argument that runs, I mean, there we have the positive spin. There's another argument that says actually devolution was meant to be a break on the partition of the United Kingdom, if I can put it quite so in such an inflammatory way. No. And it's ended up being an accelerator.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the modernisation agenda of Tony Blair in 1997 was that these referenda would put an end to the idea of separatism. And in fact, it's the reverse. You know, Scotland is the most dramatic example of, you know, devolution facilitating the vanishing of the United Kingdom, which is, you know, has gone along by leaps and bounds since the lockdown.